The all-new Mercedes C-Class as full electric? Not yet, but today as electric as possible. The plug-in hybrid with one of the highest electric ranges on the market. Is it true? We'll find out. First of all, a short exterior overview. Avant-garde trim means vertical fins here. Overall, a sporty design in this new generation, and a Thomas blue color here for today. Very beautiful. Length here, a little bit gain in the wheelbase, means more space in the rear. We have not these big wheels today, 18-inch. There are also bigger ones available. And here the classic sedan shape with the chrome accentuations right there. Highlight is a new rear axle steering, but that's not available in the plug-in hybrid model. Suspension, normal, adaptive or sports. I would recommend the adaptive suspension. Air suspension, not fully available anymore. Just when you have this plug-in hybrid model, no matter if sedan or estate, then you will get automatically air suspension just in the rear that you can keep the level, although there's added battery weight. That's very interesting. And in the rear, this is new, horizontal tail lamps, and that's why they're also split right here. And interesting that in the plug-in hybrid model, the trunk looks a little bit differently. We have, packed all the things in here. See here, you have almost no sill right there, so this is limited in height, and it is indeed a problem. You don't have this big step anymore like in the last generation, but here vertical this cabin trolley does not fit at all. And also here with a backpack like this, it would not close, and here it's also very close indeed. So you have to have a compromise here with the trunk. That's the thing about the plug-in hybrid model. But that's actually the only compromise you have. Time for the door closing sound always. Sounds very solid. On the interior, it's this small S-Class, so you have a lot of luxury features. You have the screen layout, kind of like in the S-Class. In the middle part, there is this bigger screen at the moment. You start also with the smaller screen and then have still better normal climate knobs. Here in this case, not everything with the screen. Digital instruments are always the case, and I really love these air vents. Illuminated, and I always like to play with them. Click. Like a satisfying click always. And yeah, sometimes you get distracted here also while driving because they're so nice and have these clicking sounds. Matte wood atmosphere is possible here. Seats can also be bought with Artico, like full leather in different colors, also cooled available, and also dynamic or microfiber in the AMG line. So animal-free seats are possible and have a good choice for that. Overall, a very clean design. But user interface, capacitive buttons at the steering wheel, these are also new, and everything with the screen, so not easier to control in this new generation. No compromise for the plug-in hybrid model as for the rear seating, and you have more legroom, definitely, clearly, than in the predecessor. So that's really a step forward, and it's actually fairly comfortable here. So for four tall adults, that's actually quite good. Charging, they now make the 11 kilowatt AC standard charger, so the small one is not offered anymore. Directly start with 11 kilowatt AC, and then but optional a 55 kilowatt DC charger. That's interesting, also unusual for the plug-in hybrid model. But you also have a battery of 25.4 kilowatt hours gross. Not exactly yet published what the net figure is at the recording of this video. But still, there will be enough left. And the official range is 100 kilometers or 60 miles, pure electric range. Is that really realistic? In our extensive driving part today, we will find out. And the C-Class is now all combined 2-liter 4-cylinders. That's it. No matter if petrol or the diesel. And yeah, gonna have to live with that even in the AMG model. The plug-in hybrids also then with the 2-liter 4-cylinder, and both available as petrol and diesel plug-in hybrids. That's interesting. Left side here, GPS view, but you can also have some classic view or a sporty view. Ooh, that's also very interesting. And these are the digital instruments. On the right side then we have the infotainment system in this vertical way. And as I said here, you can also get a smaller screen, and then you have separate climate knobs. Here it's all on the screen, and that's to me, yeah, just too complicated actually. The GPS looks really fancy. Like this, pinch and zoom. I think you get used to it. Sometimes, however, the input here, yeah, it's all in the screen and you don't have real feedback. It can get a little bit complicated. Indeed, you have to get used to it. In the lower part here, a volume slider, and this is essentially one button. And this one-button design is also a little bit doubtful. So it looks really fancy, but from something you feel and touch, I would say it's maybe even less fancier. But the deco elements here, left and right, this is really cool, and together also then with the air vents once again. So that's definitely a designing or styling highlight. Let's go with the plug-in hybrid drive, as electric as it goes with the C-Class at this moment. And we have about 100 kilometers, 60 miles of drive ahead. So that's the perfect scenario then to really find out city mix, motorway, countryside route. We have a good realistic mix where we can really say, does it reach the promised 100 kilometers or 60 miles of pure electric range, or less, or maybe even more. And the cool thing is, of course, you start all electric even when you are at the moment in the normal hybrid mode. So as long as you're going slowly in the city and so on, don't push the pedal too much. You stay in this electric mode. And if we just forget that the combustion engine is on board at the moment, we could very well imagine that this would be an all-electric C-Class. Just need some imagination, but it's actually quite easy. So, and since this has a reasonable battery, we can have indeed some good acceleration also in the pure electric mode. I see here this power meter in the instruments, and that kind of tells me where the combustion engine is actually starting. And of course, when you have situations like these, especially in the city, traffic light is red, there's no emission at all. So yes, the battery resources and so on, this is still critical. They will only get sustainable at the point where the batteries will change and will need less, of the certain materials that are really causing harm to the environment and so on. But the local emission advantage is already there, of course. And on the brakes, next red traffic light, and I'm already recuperating. This is not that you would feel you have some kind of one pedal driving feeling or something. No, not at all. They really have set it on the way you use the brake pedal, and then the recuperation is done first. You also see it in this charge meter in the instruments. And when you need more braking performance, then the normal brakes are actually being applied. But that's also, that's actually quite fine. And you really profit from this driving experience in the PHEV. It's really very silent, and you just relax more, especially here while city driving, and the traffic is not that annoying then. That's very, very interesting. In general, about the all-new C-Class here, the steering is very natural. The whole driving is super balanced. You have the rear axle with air suspension, but just the rear axle. And the question is, do you really feel it? They more put it not necessarily for, let's say, that you have a different driving feeling or something, but rather that you have, have a constant level at the rear axle. Here, then more weight due to the battery, and otherwise, especially when you are in the estate and you have the trunk full of stuff, then you still are being kept at the very same level in the rear axle. That's a helpful thing to have. So I couldn't really tell a difference from normal adaptive suspension and the air suspension here in the rear. It's not that it feels different really or something. So at this moment, when there would be an engine running, I could also say it's a normal petrol engine. So the main characteristics of the vehicles, remain actually unchanged. And you see, so far I was only in the electric mode without explicitly putting in the electric mode, just in the normal hybrid mode, and the car actually automatically realize what is making sense. The average energy consumption so far here in the city, we are at about 16 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers, so like 26 kilowatt hours on 100 miles. And that is actually a quite decent result so far. That would actually mean at this moment that in the city we could even drive further or longer than 100 kilometers or 60 miles pure electric. So inside the city it does even make more sense, and you can have longer electric commuting ways. This will of course change when we're soon getting on the motorway, because at higher speeds there's more wind resistance and so on. And then it actually makes sense in a pure economic way to drive, for example, at 90, 100, 120 kilometers an hour. It would make more sense to use the petrol engine for that. And then later on, when you're getting to a lower speed area once again, then use the electric mode. Blind spot monitor is also in the acoustic way right there. If you haven't seen it maybe and you use the turning indicator, then you also get this acoustic warning. And the general driving characteristic of this vehicle here for the mid-size segment is really superb. The noise insulation is very, very good, and it feels extremely sophisticated. With the old generation, fighting against the Audi A4 and the BMW 3 Series, which were newer, there the old generation was a little bit, less sophisticated in a way. But here now with the new generation update, for all these respects, hardware-wise, and how sophisticated the car feels, I think they've really done a very, very good job and keeping up now with the competition as for this respect. User interface-wise, of course, still while driving, I got used to it now, meanwhile a little bit, and also we've recently driven the Mercedes EQS. Of course, we are also keeping you updated with that one on our channel here. And then this one here feels kind of easy to control because the EQS is even more complicated to control. that's the thing. To see the map is okay. Changing the temperature, you are always looking down. Even though it's for a touchscreen solution quite obvious, you're still looking down because, you don't have any haptic feedback here from the finger. Like, where am I clicking? And honestly, manufacturers say, just use the voice control, Thomas. And then I say, I don't want to talk with the car all the time. I'm happy to talk to Jonas or something.
Hello.
Yeah. Thank you. That was a nice chat. Yeah, but my point is, when I'm talking to a machine, it's like there's no feedback. There's no real interaction, and when there's interaction, it's not real. So I prefer talking to people rather than talking to cars.
What can I do for you?
Thanks, Jonas. Drive me to Berlin. Well,
I can't do this right now.
You can't do it. Yeah, I can't do this right now. Sorry, I can't help you with that. Yeah, that's always the thing. Now 100 kilometers or 60 miles an hour, and we're still in the all-electric mode. So obviously at this point the car decides that's okay. I can already see right in here now, driving in the city with the plug-in hybrid electric, super efficient. Here now on the motorway, energy consumption already goes up a little bit. This is really interesting. Still at 1 kilometers an hour, it's still not high speed at all. But we're now at 19 kilowatt hours in 1 kilometer, so more like 29, 30 kilowatt hours on 100 miles. And that then means already we are getting closer to this official range figure. Remembering that 25.4 kilowatt hours is the gross capacity of the battery. They did not tell us the net capacity yet, but we can calculate with something in 22 something kilowatt hours net. And then we know when we have exact this consumption on 1 kilometers, then it's 1 kilometers of range. In the mid-size segment here, definitely one of the best drives so far. Still set rather on the comfort level. This will then change again with the AMG models. So the Audi A4 or A5 also, and the BMW 3 Series or the 4 Series, if you go coupe convertible, they are both set on a little sportier note than the Mercedes. And once again, it will be in the way that when they have the AMG version of the C-Class, it will be sportier than the sports version of Audi and BMW. So that's what they always do at Mercedes, having the normal versions really in this comfortable area and having the sporty versions really in that sporty area, whereas Audi and BMW are with their base and the sporty model in between. It's a very interesting approach, but then at least you know what you get when you're watching all the videos here on Autogefühl. So far, great motorway experience here. Consumption now dropped again a little bit because we used some recuperation. We were going downhill, and at the end of this driving part, will tell you even more than about the final electric consumption and if we can score this result for the day and if you can mainly use it here as an EV as far as it goes. And now 0 kilometers left in the battery and we've driven all electric, 0 liters on 100 kilometers, no fuel consumption, and then we could reach 97 kilometers, so indeed almost 100 kilometers or almost 60 miles, closely a little bit less, and 18 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers, so that should also be closely somewhat the net capacity of the battery, so it's obviously a little bit lower, so clearly lower than the gross capacity of the battery, but overall that's a great result for a plug-in hybrid, definitely. Oh, I still have sunglasses on. That way you could see Jonas a little bit. So I think a great result here for the plug-in hybrid, one of the highest range plug-in hybrids, definitely, and the electric driving was really very pleasant. Also check out the pure petrol engine C-Class review.